In the last year, I've been to over 100 comic shops, and there were certainly quite a few memorable shops, but there was only one comic shop so far that was also a barber shop. I filmed Cuts and Comics in Noonan, Georgia during my tour of every comic shop in the state, but when they told me they had moved locations and offered me a free haircut, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. Besides, I'm getting married in August and I can't be looking like Cousin It for the wedding. So I went back down to Noonan where Ragan gave me my first comic shop haircut. It's been a couple years since my last trim and I was somewhat proud of my hair length, but there was no turning back when the ponytail came off. It's been a learning curve getting used to having short floppy hair again, but overall I think that Ragan did a great job, and I'm sure plenty of people will be excited to hear that my days of wearing that dirty old coke hat are over. Which is fine with me because I recently went to the World of Coke here in Atlanta and now I thoroughly hate the company. But while I was at Cuts and Comics, I figured it was a great opportunity to try out my brand new rubric for comic shops. Last time I visited, they earned a score of 23 out of 30 points, and though the layout of the shop remains pretty much the same since they moved, the shop as a whole has grown. The shop is still split in half with the comics on one side and the chairs on the other. The back issue table is 14 short boxes, so not the most extensive selection, but they're all $2 each or 10 books for 15 bucks. There are some good deals in there. Most of the issues are from the 90s and later, and everything is nicely bagged and boarded. Just like last time, there are lots of indie books by local publishers. Next to the back issues are some comic bundles for 15 bucks, usually 3 to 6 issues per bundle. A lot of indie stuff, but a few well-known series. And next to the bundles are the discounted trade paperbacks, which are 15 bucks each as well. Most of these are pretty recent printings. At the end of the table is a book of art prints for 10 bucks each, all by the same artist whose name I have forgotten. Let me know if you recognize the artist. One of the walls has a decent selection of new graphic novels, with a couple of the titles labeled as staff picks. Lots of Invincible, Massive Verse, and Wolverine-related books. The wall of new issues has grown a little since my last visit, and has a DC section, a Marvel section, and an indie section. New issues are $5 each across the board, which is interesting. The issues of the week are on the top row, clearly labeled, and there's a staff pick for each of the 3 sections of new issues. Above the comics, the walls are covered with t-shirts and posters and framed art. There's also a section of action figures and Funko Pops, and I must not have gotten any footage of the children's comics section. The office is bursting with Star Wars decorations and toys and memorabilia, truly a nerd cave. Cuts and Comics has a women's book club run by Ragan, and comic creation class taught by Sean, and a readathon for children, which is what these adorable crowns are for. The whole shop also uses a cape reward system, which I'll let Ragan explain.
So here at Cuts and Comics, we have a rewards program. So for every $15 you spend in store, you get one cape, one superhero cape, we like to say. And these are the things you can redeem for it. So right now, 6 will get you a t-shirt, adults get a free haircut, so on and so on.
They also had a giant inflatable Batman out front and this neat Batman toy that looks like a lot of fun. So for the scoring in terms of community involvement, they do have a friendly, welcoming atmosphere. They do have a book club and game nights. There is a space to just hang out. There is a public restroom. They do specifically promote children's literacy, and the barbershop aspect certainly counts as unique shop flavor. For back issues, you are likely to find a comic you've never heard of. They are priced to sell. They are priced clearly, and they are organized nicely. For new issues, there is a local creator section. The newest issues are easy to find, and there were some labeled staff picks. For bargain section, I would say that the majority of the shop was priced to sell, and they had great promotional discounts. For a wow factor, they did have a giant decoration and cutting hair counts for the random element. And for organization, everything was clearly labeled, all the inventory was easily accessible, sections were clearly defined, and it was well lit and clean. That leaves Cuts and Comics with a total score of 21 out of 30 points. So their score drops 2 points, but that's not because the shop is getting worse. I think it's getting better. The only reason the score is lower than before is because this new rubric is much tougher. When I adjust the rest of the shops to this new rubric, most of them are also going to get bumped down a few points. And that is because I think that scoring a 27 or higher should be much harder than it has been. So overall, Cuts and Comics is a unique shop that clearly cares about the community and creating a welcoming space. I'd like to thank them again for the haircut, and I strongly recommend checking them out for yourself. Stay tuned for more videos. I've started the initial planning phase for another state, but nothing is definite yet. Until next time, I'm Kurt Williams, and you are somebody else.